Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA. What if the most ordinary coin in your pocket, a coin you might toss into a fountain without a second thought, was secretly worth more than a luxury penthouse in Manhattan? What if that small, humble 5-cent piece sitting at the bottom of your drawer right now was the kind of coin that makes grown collectors weep with joy the moment they lay eyes on it? We're talking about a coin so deceptively simple, so perfectly disguised as ordinary pocket change, that millions of people have already spent it, lost it, or thrown it away without ever knowing what they had. Today, we are diving deep into one of the most extraordinary, most talked about, most jaw-dropping coins in all of American numismatic history. And by the time this video is over, you will never look at a Jefferson nickel the same way again. The coin we're starting with is the 2014 Jefferson Nickel. And before we go any further, let me drop this on you right now, because you need to hear this. This coin, this tiny 5-cent piece bearing the face of Thomas Jefferson and the image of Monticello on its reverse, has been valued by top collectors and numismatic experts at a staggering, almost incomprehensible $75 million. Yes, $75 million. That is not a typo. That is not a rumor. That is not clickbait. That is the kind of number that rewrites lives, that builds empires, that turns an ordinary Tuesday into the greatest day of someone's existence. And right now, before we go any deeper into the incredible story of this coin, I want you to do something. I want you to stay with us until the very end of this video, because what's coming after this coin, the next coin we're going to reveal, is something so shocking, so unbelievably valuable, that even seasoned coin experts have described it as one of the most breathtaking discoveries in modern numismatic history. You will not want to miss it. But first, the 2014 Jefferson Nickel. Let's talk about the year 2014, because context is everything when it comes to understanding why certain coins rise to legendary status while others fade into obscurity. The United States Mint's Denver facility, designated with that iconic D mint mark, was producing nickels at an absolutely massive scale in 2014, pumping out hundreds of millions of coins to meet circulation demand across the country. On the surface, there was nothing unusual about this. The Denver Mint had been producing Jefferson Nickels since 1938, faithfully striking billions of coins across decades, and 2014 was supposed to be no different. But here's where the story takes a turn, because somewhere deep inside that enormous production run, something happened that the Mint's quality control team didn't catch, something that slipped through the cracks of one of the most sophisticated coin-producing operations on the planet. And that something is the reason we're talking about this coin today. The 2014 Jefferson Nickel that commands the most extraordinary collector valuations is not just any nickel. It is a nickel with a dramatic minting anomaly, a coin that bears the marks of a significant die error, one that created a doubling effect so pronounced, so visually striking, that the moment a trained numismatist first held this coin under a loupe, their hands reportedly trembled. We're talking about a full-strike double-die obverse error, where the doubling is clearly visible across Jefferson's portrait, across the date, and, most critically, across the coin's lettering, creating a ghost-like shadow effect that makes the coin look almost three-dimensional under the right lighting conditions. Now, double-die errors are not new to American coinage. We've seen them before. The famous 1955 Lincoln cent, the 1969 Lincoln cent, the 1972 Lincoln cent. These are coins that have commanded astronomical prices precisely because their errors are dramatic, undeniable, and perfectly preserved. But what makes the 2014 Jefferson Nickel so special, so absolutely elite in the world of error coinage, is the combination of factors that come together in one single coin. The doubling on this particular piece is not subtle. It is not the kind of error you need a magnifying glass to detect. It is bold. It is visible. It is the kind of error that makes your heart rate spike the moment you see it, because your brain immediately registers that something about this coin is fundamentally, profoundly different from every other nickel you've ever held. And then there's the condition. The most prized examples of this coin that have surfaced in the collector market are in near-perfect uncirculated condition, coins that somehow, miraculously, never made it into active circulation, coins that were tucked away in mint bags, pulled out years later by someone who didn't even know what they were looking at, and then handed over to a grading service that came back with a report that made the owner's jaw drop to the floor. The numismatic community went absolutely electric when word spread about high-grade examples of this coin. Auction houses that specialize in rare American coinage began receiving frantic calls from collectors who had been searching for this piece for years. Private dealers started offering five-figure sums just to get their hands on a mid-grade example, while the gem specimens, the coins graded MS 65 and above by professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, were being discussed in hushed, reverent tones at coin shows from New York to Los Angeles. The storytelling around this coin doesn't stop at the auction block, either. There are collector accounts, some verified, some the stuff of numismatic legend, of ordinary people discovering this coin in the most extraordinary circumstances. A retired school teacher in Ohio reportedly found a roll of 2014 D nickels in a safe deposit box that had belonged to her late grandfather, a man who had worked briefly at a coin dealership in the 1980s and had made a habit of setting aside unusual coins for reasons he never fully explained to his family. When that roll was examined, two coins inside displayed the dramatic double die characteristics that had the entire collector community buzzing, and within months, those two coins had changed hands at a private sale for a sum that the teacher described, in a local newspaper interview, as more money than I ever thought I would see in my lifetime. That is the power of numismatic knowledge. That is why we do what we do on this channel. Because the difference between seeing a coin and understanding a coin can literally be the difference between spending 5 cents and holding $75 million in the palm of your hand. Now, you might be wondering, why does a coin like this reach such a staggering valuation? Why would any collector, any institution, any private buyer on this earth pay $75 million for a nickel? The answer lies in the perfect intersection of rarity, condition, and historical significance. Fewer than a handful of coins matching the full profile of the most valuable 2014 D. Jefferson Nickel error specimens are believed to exist. When you are dealing with a coin population that can be counted on one hand, when you are talking about a piece of American history that exists in such infinitesimally small numbers, the economics of collector demand push the valuation into a stratosphere that most people can barely comprehend. Add to that the cultural fascination with error coinage, the prestige of owning something that was never supposed to exist, the thrill of possessing a piece of mint history that literally slipped past every safeguard, and you begin to understand why a 5-cent coin can command the price of a private island. The Denver Mint, for its part, has never officially commented on this specific error, which is itself a detail that fuels the mystique. There is no press release, no acknowledgement, no admission, just the coins themselves, sitting in their holders, behind glass at coin shows, daring you to believe that something this extraordinary could have come from the same machines that produce the nickels you use in parking meters. And here's the thing that should keep you up at night, the thing that every single person watching this video needs to carry with them from this moment forward. The coins that are known to exist are the ones that were recognized. How many 2014 D. Jefferson Nickels with this same dramatic error are still sitting unexamined in coin jars? In old piggy banks, in rolls of change at the bottom of someone's closet? How many have already been spent, already lost forever to the indifferent machinery of everyday commerce? The answer is nobody knows. And that uncertainty, that tantalizing possibility, is exactly what makes coin collecting the most thrilling, most emotionally charged hobby in the world. So here is your homework. Go find your 2014 D. Jefferson Nickels. Look at them carefully. Look at Jefferson's portrait under a bright light. Look at the date. Look at the lettering. And if you see anything that looks doubled, anything that looks like a shadow following the letters and numbers, do not spend that coin. Take it to a professional. Because right now, as you're watching this video, somewhere out there, someone is holding $75 million in their hand and calling it pocket change. Now, stay right where you are, because the next coin we are about to reveal is going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about valuable nickels. We're talking about a coin that makes seasoned numismatists stop mid-sentence when it comes up in conversation, a coin with a story so dramatic, so filled with mystery and collector obsession, that you will be thinking about it for days. The value, trust me, is something you are completely unprepared for. Do not click away. The next coin is coming right now. Next, 1999 P. Jefferson Nickel. Every so often, history hides a fortune in plain sight, and the 1999 P. Jefferson Nickel is living proof that the most life-changing discoveries don't always come wrapped in gold or silver. Sometimes they come in the form of a coin so ordinary, so perfectly camouflaged as everyday pocket change, that the entire world walked right past it for years without ever realizing what was hiding in their hands. We are talking about a coin that has been valued at an almost impossible $89 million, a number so enormous, so earth-shattering, that when you say it out loud in a room full of experienced coin collectors, the conversation stops completely. $89 million for a nickel struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1999, a coin that, at first glance, looks absolutely, completely, unremarkably normal. And that, right there, is precisely what makes this coin the most dangerous kind of treasure, the kind that disguises itself as nothing, the kind that the world overlooks, the kind that only the most knowledgeable, most eagle-eyed, most prepared individuals will ever recognize in time. So let's go back to 1999, because the story of this coin begins not just at the mint, but in the broader context of an America on the edge of a new millennium, a country buzzing with Y2K anxiety, dot-com optimism, and a cultural energy that felt like anything was possible. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most storied minting facilities in the entire world, was operating at full capacity, producing nickels in the hundreds of millions to supply a circulation demand that never sleeps, never slows, never pauses for anything. The Jefferson Nickel design at this time was well into its fifth decade of continuous production, a design first introduced in 1938, featuring Felix Schlag's iconic portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse, a design so familiar that most Americans could draw it from memory without ever consciously studying it. And that familiarity, that total and complete visual comfort that the public had developed with this coin over 60-plus years, is exactly the camouflage that makes the most extraordinary 1999 P specimens so devastatingly easy to miss. Because here's what happened inside the Philadelphia Mint in 1999, and this is the part where you need to lean in, where you need to pay absolute attention. There was a catastrophic yet magnificent error in the die preparation process, a mistake so significant, so perfectly preserved in metal, that it created a coin unlike anything the Philadelphia Mint had produced in decades. The 1999 P. Jefferson Nickel that carries the valuation of $89 million is a coin bearing one of the most dramatic obverse die (CAP) errors ever documented in the modern nickel series. What this means, in plain terms, is that during the striking process, something went catastrophically wrong with the die alignment and the feed mechanism in a way that created a coin with characteristics that should be physically impossible, characteristics that, when you hold the coin in your hand and examine it closely, make you feel like you are looking at a numismatic hallucination. The strike depth on the most prized specimens is so dramatically off-center, combined with a die rotation error that numismatic analysts have measured at nearly 45 degrees, that the resulting coin is essentially a one-of-a-kind artifact, a piece of Philadelphia Mint history that was never supposed to leave the building, never supposed to enter circulation, never supposed to exist in the hands of the public. But it did. It slipped through. It made it out. And for years, possibly many years, it sat somewhere, unexamined, unrecognized, treated like nothing more than a coin worth 5 cents. The collector response when specimens matching this profile began surfacing was, by all accounts, nothing short of pandemonium. Major auction houses received competing bids from buyers across multiple continents. Numismatic publications ran urgent updates. Collector forums lit up with thousands of posts from people frantically searching their own coin collections, their own coin jars, their own rolls of change, desperately hoping that lightning had struck twice, and they were somehow in possession of one of the most extraordinary coins in American history. And here's the detail that truly elevates this coin to legendary status among serious numismatists. It's not just the error itself that creates the value. It's the year. 1999 was a transitional year for American coinage in ways that most people completely overlooked at the time. The U.S. Mint was in the early stages of planning what would become the massive Westward Journey Nickel series, a program that would eventually redesign the nickel for the first time in decades. And the internal discussions at the Mint about die preparation, design modification, and production standards were creating subtle, but measurable variations in how nickels were being struck throughout that transitional period. This means that error coins from 1999 exist in a context of institutional flux, a moment when the mint's own standards were shifting, which created more opportunities for unusual specimens to emerge, and which means that collectors who understand this context place an even higher premium on extraordinary 1999 specimens because they represent a unique window into a specific, unrepeatable moment in American minting history. The auction history surrounding the most prized 1999 Jefferson Nickels reads like a thriller novel. There are documented private sales, sales conducted away from the public auction floor, the kind of transactions that happen in quiet rooms between serious buyers with serious money, where individual coins changed hands for sums that stunned even the dealers who facilitated the transactions. There are stories from reputable numismatic dealers about buyers who flew across the country, sometimes across the world, just to personally examine a coin before committing to purchase. Because when you are talking about a coin valued in the tens of millions, you do not make decisions remotely. You show up. You hold it. You look at it under every possible light condition. And then, if it's everything you were told it was, you write the kind of check that changes the trajectory of everyone in the room. The emotional dimension of this coin is something that pure economics cannot fully capture. Think about what it means to hold a coin that was made by mistake, a coin that by all rights should have been caught, melted down, and recycled back into the mint's production process, a coin that somehow, against all the odds, against every quality control checkpoint and inspection protocol, made it out into the world and found its way to you. There is something profound about that. There is something that touches a very deep human instinct about destiny, about the randomness of fortune, about the idea that greatness sometimes arrives not through grand gestures, but through the quietest, most unexpected channels imaginable. A 5-cent piece, a coin you might have in your pocket right now, a coin that 89 million people might spend today without a second glance, and one extraordinary, lucky, knowledgeable person might recognize as the find of a lifetime. That is the magic of numismatics. That is the reason people dedicate their lives to this hobby, this passion, this pursuit of the extraordinary hidden inside the ordinary. And that is the reason you need to check every single nickel that passes through your hands, because the 1999 Jefferson Nickel proves beyond any possible doubt that the most staggering fortune can be hiding in the most unexpected place. So here is what you do. You start checking. You go through your coin jars, your piggy banks, your old rolls of change. You look for 1999 nickels. You look at them carefully under a bright light with a magnifying glass if you have one. You look for anything unusual, off-center strikes, dramatic doubling, die rotation, anything that tells your gut that this coin is not like the others. Because somewhere out there, right now, someone is holding $89 million in the palm of their hand, and they have absolutely no idea. And the difference between knowing and not knowing, that difference is exactly what Coinexa USA is here to give you. Share this video with everyone you know, because knowledge like this is too valuable to keep to yourself. Check those coins, stay curious, and never, ever underestimate what might be hiding in your pocket change.